In today's episode, we're talking about showing up even when you don't want to. Why? Let's find out. Welcome. This is Gull Khan, your money mindset expert. And today we're talking about showing up even when you don't want to. There are many times when we don't feel like showing up. We don't feel like turning up to jobs or businesses or the meeting or having those awkward conversations. And as an entrepreneur, gosh, I really feel that. And I've had those days too when I'm very fortunate that it's highly unlikely that I don't want to ever speak to a client. That's never happened. But I do have those moments when I don't want to be speaking to the individual for, related to property matter or, a business colleague or certain things that I have to deal with, or external contractor. And there are times when I'm just so tired that I don't want to attend a meeting. I don't want to do something. I have to say the only time that I enjoy doing is probably the coaching calls for my coaching business. Otherwise, every other business that I have, there have been times when I just didn't want to turn up to the call or something else. And this is also the case with the prayers as well. So, when we do our 5 daily prayers, being a Muslim, there are times when I don't want to do that too. And I was thinking about this today, especially talking to my daughter, and I was discussing with her the importance of showing up and turning up even when you don't feel 100%, even though you don't feel confident, even though you don't want to be there. It's something that you have to show up. And once you're out of school, once you're out of university and so forth, when you have especially when you have your own business, no one's there to hold a gun to your head. You don't have to show up to meetings. You don't have to show up to, for the work that you have done or appointments and so forth. You show up because that's the ethical and that's that's the most moral thing to do. You've made a commitment. You have to value other people's times, and you have to go ahead and do that. And same thing goes for the commitments. When you make a commitment, you have to follow through with those commitments. That's what's called being an authentic and real person. You can't, and somebody who has to be reliable. If you don't follow through with your commitments, then people stop relying on you and stop depending on you. Now, why am I talking about this on a money mindset podcast? Because this is probably one of the foundational elements of becoming wealthy. One thing I've noticed with people who are wealthy is they show up no matter what. They would show up even when they're sick. They show up even when they're ill. They make a commitment. They follow through. They apologize for when they truly cannot make a commitment. And they, when they can't meet a commitment, they will overcompensate for it. So they'll make sure they compensate the person ahead. And they value their time and they value other people's time. And I think when you are building yourself, your business, money can be made a number of different ways. And I've discussed that a number of ways. What you're building at the same time is your reputation, your company's reputation, your brand's reputation, and your personal reputation. And it's important for people to become dependent, be able to depend on you. They need to know that if you say you're going to do X, Y, and Z, then you're going to follow through and do X, Y, and Z. You're not going to fall short of that. And of course, there are times when life takes over and, you are ill and you forget things. So there are a number of occasions on this year, I've been ill or something's happened or there's been a mix-up or whatever. You had to delay the release of a podcast. But the point is, we have released the podcast, consistently throughout. And this has been a passion project. It hasn't been because of any financial rewards thus far. We haven't monetized our podcast. I've done it truly because of the message I want to get across. And this is the point I was sort of talking to my daughter about, because she asked me, why do you do this? If you're not making money from it, then why do you do it? And I said, I never started this podcast with the intention of making money from it. Monetizing it was not a primary goal for it. The primary goal was to get my message out to as many people as possible and to connect with as many people as possible. And we're doing that. That seems to be the things that we are doing very, very well. And we've been very successful with it. It's been a very successful podcast for us. The only thing I would say is we have and we will continue to strive, is to see how we can reach more people and connect with more people. And it's also been a platform where I've been able to talk and say things that I probably may not be able to do as freely on other platforms. There are, when we, I don't have any political agendas, and I don't have any political ideas that I share on these episodes anyway. But I do have my spiritual side, and I openly share that here, and I'm able to do so because I can be truly myself. If I needed to, if I wanted to, I can talk about something, but commit to the point at hand. It's a commitment that I made to this podcast, to make sure that we release podcast 3 times a week, and we've been doing that consistently so 2.5 years now, and this needs to continue. Either do this or not. Showing up is so important. Now that builds part of your character, becomes part of your character. I learned this a long time ago, and I think it was ingrained into me by a number of teachers, starting with my mother, and of course a few school teachers, and especially when I went into the personal development industry, mentors such as Bob Proctor and Brian Tracy, and especially Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn especially drilled this into us through his lectures and books and so forth, that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you are not able to make a commitment and follow through with one thing, the likelihood of you committing to something else is going to be very, very slim, right? So if you want to do well in life, you have to commit to your goals. But if you cannot even commit to your daily tasks, then or the commitments you made throughout the week, then what chance do you have of committing to your goals, right? So what we want to do is we want to commit to ourselves, and we want to become these individuals who follow through our commitments. And this does mean that at times you're going to have to do something even though you don't feel like it. You're not well, it's something that, you've got something else going on, you've got family issues going on. Of course, there are mitigating circumstances for everything. There is, for example, I had a workshop that we were running back in September, and the workshop was supposed to start on the Saturday. And we went in on Thursday night, midnight, for an early Friday morning into hospital, and we found out that he must have had appendicitis, and so on Friday he had the operation. So there's no way I could have done that workshop on the Saturday or the Sunday, the following Saturday, Sunday, because I was still in hospital. So obviously we postponed that to the week after, but I still did the workshop, and we gave some extra training, some extra help, some extra support to people who waited. But I made it very abundantly clear that that was a valid reason why we postponed the workshop. It wasn't because I didn't feel like it. Was because my son's life was more important, and I was obviously being committed mother, and I was looking after my son in the hospital with him. So commitment is a very, very important part of your life. And in order for you to achieve abundance, this almost becomes foundational. This is something that we just take for granted. When I look around all those entrepreneurs who are successful, it's those ones who are committed to their goals and are committed to taking those daily actions, even though they cannot see how those daily actions are going to result in the bigger picture or what they're aiming for. Because sometimes the daily action is so small and so minuscule, you can't even see how that's going to contribute towards you getting to your whatever goal you is. But I promise you, each action you take every single day, if you're done with the right intention, will get you to your ultimate goal. You may not be able to see it right now. It may not even be obvious right now, but in the future, when you look back in your life and in hindsight, you'll see how all the pieces come together, and you're able to achieve your X, Y, and Z goal because of the daily things that you committed to doing every single day, which means you have to show up. You have to show up every single day. And I'm not going to say this, that you have to do this 100% of the time, because that's not possible. It's the old 80-20 rule. So there'll be days when you doesn't matter what happens, you're ill, in the family emergency taken over, something else happens. We can have 10-20% of our life, dedicated to these emergencies. It's fine. If you show up at least 80% of the time, fully committed, doing whatever it is that you're going to do, and it doesn't matter how you feel about it, what's going on in your personal life, what's going on here and there, you just go ahead and show up, then that is going to show your character, and that's going to result in your success. This is so, so important for you to remember. Nobody's going to come and hold a gun to your head and say to you, you have to do X, Y, Z task. But if you've committed to doing X, Y, Z task, then you have to do it. One of the things that I engage people by is, if they make a commitment to me, And if they do not turn up, and this could be business, professional, personal, if someone does not turn up, and if they do not actually notify me beforehand, because if they can't come, that's fine. If they cannot make a meeting, it's fine. But if they do not actually respond and sort of tell me beforehand, what's the matter and what emergencies occurred in their life, then instantly, my value for the individual diminishes incredibly. And the likelihood of me working with them in the future is very slim. On a personal note, if someone does that, unless they're very, very close relative, again, I have very little regard and very little interest in continuing a relationship with somebody like that, because reliability is very, very important. And if someone is going to not come back and communicate with me and waste my time, because I wouldn't do that to somebody else, I would not make a commitment of doing something and not turn up or not do it in the end. And so therefore, it doesn't matter if I feel like it or not, I will go through with that commitment, or give them plenty of notice beforehand that if I'm unable to make it, and give a valid reason for it. And this is so important, because I think you need to hold yourself to high standards. Nobody else is going to, but people will notice. This is the point. Nobody's going to tell you to do certain things, but when you fall short of certain behaviors, and commitment and not keeping with commitments is one of them, people will notice, and people will begin to see you in that sort of light. They'll see you as unreliable, and their general respect and your admiration for you would demeanor. I'm thinking of this one particular person comes to my mind, and it's related to my brother. And my brother, at one point, was doing really, really well professionally with his business, and this individual was starting off his business. And he would come and borrow my brother's van all the time. And my brother, being the generous person, he wouldn't even charge him for borrowing the van or the petrol money or whatever. He was trying to help out his friend who's trying to build a business. So he really, really went out his way to support his friend to build his business. And the person took plenty of advantages of him, and it was fine. My brother didn't see it as that. He just thought he was helping our friend. Now, tables have reversed, and 15 years down the line, my brother's building up another business, and he doesn't have that the van anymore, and he just needs this van for this one particular day, right? So he needed it for one day to shift some furniture from one place to the other, and my brother could have actually paid a van separately, but it made no sense to him, because he was buying some furniture from this individual too. So he was giving business as well. He wasn't doing it for free. He said, well, you're going to deliver one item. If I give you a little bit extra cash, you can deliver the other items as well. You can just pick them up from this location. And this individual agreed reluctantly, by the sounds of it. But then I found out afterwards how this person was really agitated and didn't support him in helping him lift the stuff up to wherever he needed to go. And he was completely ungrateful person. I think that's really the best way to put it. And my brother, bless him, he just said that when he was his good days and he was doing really well, he didn't think twice of helping this friend. It even crossed his mind. He didn't even see it as a favor. He just, I'm just a friend. Of course, as friends, we help each other out. Now, 15 years down the line, when he needed the support or help, this individual was completely rude and obnoxious to my brother. And I found it astonishing. But then that's your character. It reveals your character. And again, for my brother, you have to show up with people. You have to show up with life, and that's it. So, coming back to this point, you have to show up for yourself as who you are. And there are times when you don't want to do things, but you do it because that's the right thing to do. I think the whole point of today's episode is about holding certain standards for yourself, and making sure that if you've made a commitment, you follow through with the commitments, and you hold yourself to a standard that nobody else would hold you to. But you hold yourself to it, and you follow through with your commitments, because it's all about integrity. It's all about being real and authentic and honest with yourself before anybody else. And if you can hold on to this one quality of being authentic and following through with commitments, I promise you, doesn't matter what life throws at you. And I'm going to tell you this again, life will throw curveballs at you. it will not be an easy ride. You will have 1 step forward, 5 steps back, 10 steps forward, 20 steps back, 5 steps forward, 10 steps back, and then maybe 100 steps forward. This is how life is, okay? If anybody tells you it's a linear line, they're completely fibbing you. That's not true. Success does not come in a straight line. It comes back and forth and all sorts of twists and turns and so forth. But if you follow through with your commitments, if you hold yourself to high standards, and if you commit to your goals, and that means taking daily action and following through with any commitments you make in your personal and your professional life. This is so important to remember, not just professional, but in your personal life too, because what you do in one part of your life reflects another. How you behave professionally will reflect in your personal life, and how you behave personally will reflect in your professional life. This is going to be really, really important for you to remember. So, as long as you hold yourself to high standards and you follow through with commitments, you will be fine. And you will come out the other end. And it doesn't matter what curveballs life throws at you, you will overcome them. You will come through them, over them, or underneath them, but you will overcome these obstacles. But the first and the foremost important thing to remember is be true to yourself and follow through with commitments and show up even when you don't want to show up. Do the work even when you don't want to do the work. And that means if you've committed to doing 1 blog post a day, then that's what you do. If you're committed to recording 3 blog posts, a podcast a week, then you do 3 blog posts, podcast a week. If you've committed to recording 10 videos for that batch recording 10 videos for that month, then you do it on that particular day. You don't put it off, and you don't postpone things. You follow through. And if you do postpone, there has to be a valid reason, and then you make sure you commit to it on that particular day. There are always going to be things that turn up and you don't want to do it. There are times when you don't feel like doing things, but you can't give in to those urges. You have to remain committed to your goals and to your daily actions. And if there's one thing you take away from today's podcast, it's this: be committed to yourself. When you follow through commitments, you're not following commitments for other people's sake. You're following for your own sake, for your own mindset, for your own habits, for your own character, and for your own peace of mind. Hold yourself to high standards and make sure you follow through with commitments. Well, hope you enjoyed today's episode. I will be back on another podcast sharing another nuggets of wisdom that I've come through or learned through my life and sharing with you. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull Khan signing off. Take care and bye for now.